Hello everybody. So, I've been saying on my channel for a long time that I do code, but I've never shown or, did anything at all code related on the channel to even show this in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to do something really odd, different, and completely out of the box today. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone because I've been wanting to record the, what this project of mine that I've been working on does for a couple of people, namely my cousin, to show him what goes on this program, while at the same exact time I've been just really wanting to showcase what I do for the most part, like what I've been doing in my spare time for other shit. Everybody's seen the RPG Maker stuff, but like you don't know what I do for the coding, and believe me, I don't do a whole lot of scripting in RPG Maker. So let's go ahead and showcase this project then, shall we? So this is the main menu that it opens up into. It's just a DOS screen. It's supposed to be based off of the basically the same kind of thing that Sanctuary RPG Black Edition is. I played that on the channel before, which is just a DOS console that's simulated through something called libtcod in C++. This is a Python project right here, and just straight through the Windows command prompt, literally. And it just accepts input and then does things based off of that input. So there are nothing else for options that you can do in this menu. I don't even have an escape that isn't shown here. It's just the new game option. So when you choose that, we have our new game screen where you choose what class that you're going to go with. We're going to pick a rogue this time because, well, everybody loves their filthy-ass dex builds. I realized that I need to do one more line break to get that down to the bottom of the screen, but no matter. So this is going to eventually expand into a much bigger, like a secondary screen that you can choose for advanced classes when you unlock them throughout the course of the game as well. There will not only be 3 classes in this game, believe me. And as for that main menu, be aware that a lot of the screens in this are not done. If you can't tell from the lack of line break in this one, they are not complete. They're just placeholders for now. I haven't really set them up so that they're completely presentable in the way that I want them to be quite yet. Not everything. Some are pretty well done at the moment, and you'll see those a little further along down the line. I want to do something like maybe DOSQuest, which is the name of the program, by the way. Like, do like an ASCII DOSQuest at the beginning or something, rather than just typing in words, because I can't, like, choose the size of the text in a terminal command prompt, obviously. But anyway, we're going to be a rogue, and then you rename your... you just choose the name of your character right here. Now, when you chose your character, as it is right now, you cannot go back to change a different class if you fucked up and did the wrong input, so you got to make sure that you get that right. And there are catches if you just hit enter and there's nothing there. So that should work just fine. We're going to name him Butt Stabber, because I am a mature human being. Will you venture forth, Butt Stabber? So again, there is no catch for that one, though. If you were to not put a space, I gotta fix that one. But yeah, no, essentially, you just fucking type in whatever letter that you need it to be. So, we'll hit yes. Now, the first thing that I found out when I was trying to test record this over the volume of the main menu is that it is the loudest fucking thing that I have ever recorded with OBS in my life. We are on 12% volume right now for the fucking speakers, and it's still probably incredibly loud versus my voice compared to the usual. But I do want you guys to, like, hear the music, the sound effects, and all of that good shit. So, here we go. There's your town menu. Again, very Sanctuary RPG-esque. You hit the buttons that you need, and then you hit enter to move on. If it's nothing else, then it'll just refresh the screen. So that's what that judder is that you're seeing. If you hit rest, it's supposed to charge you money to do so, but I have not actually made it charge anything quite yet. So it's a little broken and exploity at the moment, but that's okay, because this is just the testing phase. So the first thing that you should be hitting is your shop. That's like the first thing that you should always be hitting when you go into the fucking game anyway. You can beat things up just bare naked, but probably gonna get your ass beat if you go anywhere beyond the first area. So there's also a way to get gold. in this menu that I put as just a little cheese in case you needed to just test buying things or gearing yourself out the right way. And it's probably going to sit there for a while. But, there's that. We're a rogue, so fuck it, we'll just go with the short sword. Don't know what that little delay was there, and shields are for pussies, so we'll just go with the leather armor and the short sword. You know what, we'll give ourselves a little more gold so that we can buy a couple health potions just in case, because I'm going to go right into the tough area. From here, you can also check your character information. This is not perfectly balanced out yet, because that MP should be in line with the dexterity, the vitality, block, defense, resilience, penetration column, but it doesn't do that, mostly because of the fact that I don't have one solid string with a set number of characters set up there, so it is entirely dependent on how long the insert is for, like, your strength, your magic stat. So if that magic score were a 115, that vitality would be pushed back another block, is what I'm saying. So it's entirely dependent on that. That's going to change eventually later on down the line, and it's going to figure out the length of these strings before it puts them in here, and then make it closer, like, you know, less spaces based off of that. So that is what everything looks like right there. All of the formulas for these other stats are going to change, but this is basically what our stats are going to look like at the end of the game anyway. Vitality is a little bit of defense, like a quarter of it goes to your defense, and it also is based off of what your resilience is as well. Resilience is just for resisting status ailments, which are not in the game quite yet. So the chance that you'll be silenced or this, that, the other thing is entirely based off of your vitality stat. Penetration is based off of perception and your dexterity stat, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It eats through armor. Also not put into the game yet. Neither is your critical chance or critical hit, like power, for the multiplier. So, from here, I will eventually put in descriptions for all of the different stats in the game perception so that everybody knows what they're doing. As you can see, that is not in the game yet. You can, however, go straight into your inventory. There is no, like, navigatable inventory. I don't know if I want to add it yet, to be 100% honest with you. I think it's just going to be a, you buy the item, it goes into your inventory, that's all she said. Right there, that's all she wrote. So, let's get the fuck out of here. And then if you go right back into the character info, it always goes back into this screen from default. So let's go to the field and actually test out the really important part of the game, the combat, really. Because that's probably what I put the most amount of time into, so it won't accept any other input other than the shit that's on the screen. Again, you can go straight into your inventory, though, here, instead of the character information, though it doesn't really matter that much. You can see your gold from any shop and from the fields. I have not made it so that it's in the inventory screen yet. I don't think I'm going to, because I don't see why you would need it in those spots, frankly. But, yeah, so we're going to go into field number 2. It's what I designed as being like a grind for experience. A lot of enemies spawn there, they're low level. So, this is what the combat sequence looks like. It starts out by telling you what enemies have popped into there. You can see all of your base stats. The only thing you need to see on the enemy is their attack and their defense. Again, that might change later on down the line, and I intend on putting a bracket right about here to here, or however long that it's going to be, showing you all of the different status ailments that you can inflict on the enemy. And it's just going to be like a letter. So, like, the first one might be reserved for a blind, and you'll see, like, a capital B in there if they're blinded, paralysis, poison, etc. All of that stuff. Our chances of success for running away, I just put that one in last night, actually. It starts at 100% for every sequential time that you run away without completing a combat sequence through to the end and winning a fight. It'll keep dropping by 40% until it's at 0, and you cannot run away anymore. Just like the older RPG games, that was exactly how that used to work, to be honest with you. Like, you ran away almost, well, 100% certainty the first time, and then it just kept getting worse the more that you kept running away from enemies, and it just works the same exact way here. I wanted to do something like that to make it a little more intuitive. It also goes up by 40% every time that you complete a fight as well. You can attack Switching targets is going to be a very important thing I want to put into it right there. So you see those arrows on the side, it tells you what enemy that you're targeting. There can be up to 3 enemies in the fight. I think that's about the maximum. That is the one main difference between this and Sanctuary RPGs. The number of enemies can be more than 1. You can heal mana potion. Healing potions only do about 40% healing right now. Again, robbed straight from Sanctuary RPG. I didn't want to do like a crazy OP heal. I might up that to like a 60% heal. When you cast magic, now here's an important thing. You double the magic damage to cast. It really doesn't open up any skill trees of any sort in any way, shape, or form. Neither does the skills, and I'll show you that one immediately next. So, you cast, that is double your magic score in damage right there. So, 30 damage, essentially. I don't think it takes defense into account, but it might. Can't remember. I might have to make a magic defense stat as well, which only makes sense. So, K is just the same one skill right there, Spin Slash. It attacks everything on the screen, so there's AoE damage. Which does a portion of your actual damage. And then, of course, just your base attack. When everything ends, there you go. You see how much XPs that you've won, how much gold that you've won, depending on what enemy that it is. It'll, like, search through a giant fucking tree of conditions to see what the enemy type is, and then return a random variable for the gold. XP is always just solid. So if we keep doing this, if you recognize this song, by the way, I had to throw in a Chaos Fantasy in here to really up the mood while I was trying to test things one day. Spin Slash does, of course, take damage. The one thing I didn't do, though, is I want the stats to be different across each character. They have different base stats, but they all have the same, like, upgrade path. They all have the same stat ups from every level up, because I didn't change it in the trees. So we've now leveled up, and there we go. So now we're at 90 HP versus the 80. I think Strength and Dex both went up by 1, all that good shit. So that's basically how the system works right there. Not really a whole lot to show. Oh, there's also random sequences of getting, like, mana potions. Like, that's what that was right there. So let me go ahead and wrap up this fight then really quickly. I would run away, but I want that sweet experience. Alright, what was the thing I wanted to do? Right, that was the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to fight the area boss. So this is why we have that gold cheat in here, ladies and gentlemen. So that should stop. Yeah, there we go. That should stop as soon as you max out all of your potions. Let's get some plate armor. We're going to get a shield this time, as much as I don't want one. So now we're at 32 attack and 13 defense. That is currently the highest that you can hit in the game right now. Your vitality stat does not increase from leveling up. I didn't showcase the guard, but basically that block percentage that you see right there is how much the damage is reduced by, and then I think it is rounded up to the nearest whole number after that. So you must take at least 1 point of damage, essentially. Alright, so let's go ahead and challenge that area boss. Now, mind you, the zoo boss is incredibly unbalanced right now. It's kind of just a damage sponge unless you cast a lot of spells when you have MP. Then it just melts. So it's kind of really just more balanced around the auto attack, which is kind of silly, but, you know, whatever. It's just an early stage of the game after all. And they literally don't do anything other than this at this point in the game right now. So, if it looks kind of boring, it's because there are no other extra skills to level up on right now. There is no magic other than that original fireball that you get at the start. And there, again, there's just not a whole lot of anything added into the game quite yet. And there's one more thing that I do need to showcase after this. Wow, I am never doing this outside of the warrior class ever again. Dear God, the fucking HP bar is awful at, like, level 3. Then again, it is a level 10 fucking boss, so whatever. Or so I have it in there as a level 10 boss, rather, I should say. That's literally 3 attacks worth that we're healing on an HP potion. That'll do it. This is also an 8-bit version of the Garuda fight from Final Fantasy XIV, if anybody recognizes this music by chance. Alright, we're out of MP, so a lot of the things in this as well, by the way, if you do not put anything in there, it'll let you know you can't do it, rather than, like, waste your turn. That was something that Sanctuary RPG did that I fucking hated. There's, again, a lot of comparisons, but it's fine. I don't think we're gonna win this one. Especially considering the fact that there is no runaway option. Well, there is a runaway option. My point being, rather, that there is no, I don't remember what I was trying to say. I'm kind of tired. I need my coffee in a minute. We're out of HP potions. We're gonna die. So, if you're gonna fucking test this one out, because I do have it on a GitHub link, and I can link it in my fucking thing. I don't think I have all of the shit that I have in there now, but don't ever fight that boss with a low HP bar. It's awful. It's not fucking balanced for it. So, the only other thing that I really need to test is the, this, right here. So if you type in CS in the main menu, I have it set to show the event handler. Which, the idea for coding this, and I'll show you the actual code for it in a minute, too. It just, yeah, that's what it does right there. It designs a cutscene, it spits things out with a pause in between every letter as it's spitting out the text, and just makes it look a little bit more immersive for the cutscenes. It will not skip if you just keep hitting enter as well, so you will have to wait until the end of these text sequences. I might make it so that there's an option to skip the cutscene, though, however, where there's like a conditional beforehand. Do you want to skip this cutscene? You know? But, yeah, Charcy also being the fucking blacksmith from Diablo 2. That's why I use that name. So, alright. Closing the game. We're going to do a monitor capture here, and I'm going to show you guys what's under the hood now. So, this is the window that everything is in, right here. So, your VENV is just virtual environment. That essentially is where your Python, what's the word that I'm looking for? Interpreter is going to be. That should be included with the package. I'm probably going to make a clone of it on my GitHub as well, so that you can run it fucking anywhere. But you need an interpreter to be able to use Python, essentially. So that's all that is. Sounds, obviously, all the sounds used in the game, because it just pulls from that folder. Bin has all of your shit in here. Ignore these PYC files. They're just compiled, like, recent configuration fucking things that the editor uses. You can delete those and the game will run perfectly fine. And then, I'm not 100% sure what the idea folder is, to be honest with you. Git, I think, is just used for the Python, for pycharm. And speaking of pycharm, I have the game open right here. So the basis really is it just runs right from here. It opens pygame, which is one of the APIs used for it, mostly just for the sound, which if we open the music class right here, it's just all of this stuff. That's literally all it's used for. And I have everything commented so that you can fucking see what the fuck it's doing. But yeah, just a loop music to play a sound effect or to kill it. It's literally all that it's used for right there. So back over to the start. It launches that. It launches just setting up the menu. And then if at any point when it's reading inputs, there's a flag for a variable called the game over flag. If that is set to 1, it'll just break the loop that it is caught in for catching the user's input and then launch the game over screen. And that's what that exit was doing, essentially. So if we go to menu.initialize, if anybody has no idea what code is like, then I apologize for losing you, but this is for, like, code-savvy people. You can tone out at this point. Which is all of this shit right here. Initialize will just refresh the screen. The refresh class, or method rather, in this document is just to put text onto the screen. It just literally does that. It refreshes the fucking thing. Scene transition is saved in my variables document right here that has all of the good shit, all of your base, all your equipment stuff, everything that needs to be used across multiple files goes into this folder. Well, I say folder, I'm saying all of the wrong things. It goes on to this. It would be called a class in C#, but it's just a Python fucking script. So, anyway, back to menu. That's what the scene transition is. It basically just gets used if there's a transition, and it will change the music. It'll kill the music and then play something new. That's the only difference, because if you go into your inventory or you see what your class stats are, for example, you don't want the music to change for that. Unless I have music in that folder, but I'm not going to. That's not the plan. The idea is to keep playing the same music that was on the screen you were on beforehand when you check your inventory. Alright, so that's what the refresh does. It'll play the thing, all of that good shit. It changes your location, which is saved in the DATS script, and that's everything that you need to know about the refresh area right here. So, process inputs would be basically the next thing that it does right there. But anyway, calculate base stats. This is when you choose your stats. I don't know why I put it in the menu folder, but it was the only thing that made remote sense right there. If we go over to menu screens, we see all of the screens that we have in the game. There's your main menu, you got your class select, resting screen, all of this good shit. And this is how everything is calculated right here. These are all of my formulas that get shown when you see your character stats. They are all subject to change at some point. Not really anything else of importance to show you with all of the other classes here. All of the other random folders you see on the side, this manifest, setup, CFG, this is all libtcod stuff. And honestly, I could delete it. It really shouldn't be there, to be honest with you. And that's probably what that other folder was before when I said I had no idea what it was. It's probably because I installed libtcod into it. So, experience, this is all the trees for your level ups. Anything after level 5 or 6 or whatever just gives you this static amount. And they all have the same level up amounts. This has all of your experience, your golds, level up screen, all of that good shit. Skills will eventually be instantiated to have every skill in the game to be able to just pull and give a formula, and it'll just process all of that stuff. Now, when you're running the battle sequence, this is easily the biggest script that I have in here, 506 lines. There's a lot of fucking shit in here. A lot of fucking shit. So, basically, I have a class set up to have all of the variables that you would need. Here are your arrows, in case you swap your target. It'll keep moving through their target, obviously being all the different enemies that are in the game. And then it tests to see if there's nothing there, and then spits out a bunch of X's if there's nothing there at the start of a fight. Or if there's a 0, then you can't target it. Was a bit of a pain in the ass to get working at first, but we have it going. Arrays are what we have set up to keep all of the variables that you need across everything in the battle. And it basically starts out by instantiating those arrays. It sets up what you want for the music based off if it is boss fight or not. Basically, I wanted the boss fight thing to set up to, in case you wanted to change the way that something works, so that there's a flag there, essentially. Again, instantiating all of your arrays inside of the battle based off of the values you have in your DAT. And that's about it right there. Your idle screen is just a constant looping, picking up your user input. That's all this is used for right there. Battle processing, anything that has processing in the name for my methods just means that it is a conditional that takes the input and does an if based off of that input. And it is based off of the input overload. Input is what you have keyed in and hit enter on, essentially. So K being your spin slash, you got G for guard, H is your healing, all of that other good shit. Eventually we'll go down to the enemy turn, which really they only just attack, and it depends on whether or not the character is guarding, on what they do. Target check does exactly that. So when you swap, it'll fucking put everything around. Get variables is just a setup to, fetch all of your data. And then this sets up the screen that refreshes constantly. You got your win battle, lose battle, run away. Field screens is just all of the random number generation shit that happens when you go into a certain area onto the field or the maps. And eventually there will be a lot more folders of this screens, that screens, whatever, just to make it a little bit faster. I don't think it'll be too much slower, but I don't want to load up one thing with all of the game's random events, you know what I'm saying? Event handler is not to be mixed up with the cutscene handler in any way, shape, or form. This is your RNG. RNGs just take the wheel, and then it goes to where you need to go. It instantiates that role, not instantiates, but you know what I mean. Sets up the role and then does a thing based off of that RNG. I think we're about done with everything that I went through right there. That's fucking it. Input reader I didn't show you, but it has all of the different processing based off of what screen that you're in, and it indicates that based off of where the character's location is to go to which processing to know what it needs to do. Magic isn't used, it is completely empty. It'll eventually hold all of the spells in the game, and then your cutscene handler. This will be incredibly fucking small. This is supposed to be absolutely 100% incredibly small. It does things based off of what it reads from an array in these. So your first cutscene in the game is just literally an array. Every time that you have @pause in there, it'll indicate that that is a command to have an enter that you need to hit to be able to continue further into the text. Blanks are a line break, and then clear wipes the screen, just a CLS. And that's really about it. I don't know how this will run on other operating systems, because I actually went the lazy way out with some of these system clears for the terminals, and they do not have anything other than the CLS in there, because there is also clear if operating system equals NT. I don't know what that operating system is meaning, but I know some terminals are different, so that might be an iOS fucking thing. But that is pretty much everything that you guys would need to see. This is what I have been doing. This is what I am coding literally every day for about a fucking 30 minutes to an hour at work on top of it. This has like 300 lines of code. This is over 1,000 lines of fucking code in things easily right now. Holy shit, I've put a lot of work into this. Alright, so yeah, I didn't know how much fucking code I put into this thing until today. Alright, cool. So I will see you guys later. I hope that wasn't too incredibly boring. Just, I hope you tuned out if you didn't have any fucking interest in that in any way, shape, or form. Actually, I don't need to close out of this quite yet. But, yeah, that's about everything I wanted to show you guys for DOSQuest, and this is the kind of shit that I do. This is just for fun, even, too. It'll eventually be in a portfolio to show a job later on down the line for stuff that I do, but this is what I've been doing for fun. So, I will see you guys later. Take it easy. I've killed more than enough time talking about this project. Later.